Welcome to The Prize Inside. The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
All right, welcome everybody. Let me remove that. Welcome to 1% Tribe. The prize inside the whole health, I'm sorry, I'm getting all confused. The 1% Tribe edition of the prize inside. Welcome. Hopefully you guys had a great week, great weekend. It was beautiful here. A lot of fair stuff going on in the old Battle Creek area. So our county fair is not too far down the road. Got to watch this thing called Night of Destruction. For those that have never been to the Night of Destruction, it's pretty hilarious. People take a truck and they have to have a trailer of some sort, and then they do a figure eight course until the last man or woman is standing. And so I enjoy that very much. So I've done the Demolition Derby a long time, and just going to that is really fun. But this new Night of Destruction is pretty awesome. Some people have like a truck with, a truck and a boat on the back and a trailer. And there was a couple people with fifth wheel trailers, in there. It was pretty awesome. The rules are like, you can keep going. You get disqualified as soon as like nothing's on your trailer hitch anymore. So that's the way you get kind of disqualified, but it's a pretty hilarious, worthwhile effort. And of course, there was fair food. We didn't do a ton of fair this year just because we've done it so much in the past. We didn't have any kids in it or, those kind of things. We try to get out there. I have a sheep in my freezer from one kid that showed at the fair. So that was pretty cool. That always ends up being well. He's a great kid, those kind of things. So tonight is going to be, for tonight, we're going to be talking about kombucha. So kombucha is a drink. It's a fermented drink that you can make at your home. And a lot of people don't know it. They've heard the name, and it's tough until you take the shot at it. One of the reasons I wanted to do this one, it's fun to make stuff, like have like a podcast where you're actually producing something. And this one you could actually produce with not a ton of expertise. Sometimes we worry about like sauerkraut making. That's a little more labor intensive than kombucha is. But it's fun. We're going to talk about like making it. It's new for me because I focus so much on the sauerkraut aspect of things, so that I could get good at that. And now I'm pretty good at the sauerkraut. So kombucha was my next one. And I have our buddy here, my podcast. I had brought my SCOBY, and we will bring him on camera. It's kind of creepy, but that's how it works. But kombucha we're going to go through the benefits, really, the health benefits of it. Think about what throws most of us off track. With all of the things in our day-to-day diet, what's probably the number one is probably what we drink, right? Food is definitely up there, but what we drink is pretty addictive. It's pretty fake sugary. And for me, it's one of the most crazy things that we haven't, went after that, like figured out that the drinks that we put in our body are so full of fake sugar and other things that get you addicted to them, that it's a major problem. When I see people, when I've told somebody never ate well in their life, never even thought about it, and I say the first thing they do is they stop drinking pop, and I see them a month later and they've lost 20 pounds, that tells me all I need to know, right? And so that's where kombucha can come in, and we got some examples of that. Of course, it's not going to be the same as your normal, but it is what it is. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Some health benefits of kombucha, how to kind of start making it yourself, and some great recipes with it. And then we're going to kind of walk through like my journey on it the last like 2 months when I really started going, I want to make some of this kombucha, and I'm already happy with the results. So, and I'm new at it. So that tells you a lot. So before we get started, remember, you can always get these. I'm streaming live currently to it, or you can get the newsletter aspect. If you subscribe to a little banner, tribe1.substack.com. So tribe1.substack.com is a free newsletter where a lot of my information will always be. Found out I can communicate with you guys through that. That's a fantastic thing. I'll put up in the corner this little, if you're really good at QR codes, the little QR code brings you to this thing called Fullscript. Fullscript, I'm getting really, really good at it with patients and everything else. It's a place where you can get your supplements, but they're vetted. We're hearing some bad stories of some of these supplements coming, you don't know, off a certain big giant website. You don't know where they're coming from. Are you getting what you want? And this is vetted by a bunch of naturopath doctors that you have to vet through to get on this, but it acts like Amazon. Okay. And so there's some other things in there that I'm just falling in love with anyway. So remember that as we go, tribe1.substack.com, QR code in the corner. But the big thing is subscribe to the free stuff. Subscribe to Rumble. Ladies and gentlemen, I went from like 83 subscribers on Rumble to 90. I only need 10 more, and I can like, instead of my Rumble link, I think I get to have like the price inside or something like that. So that's pretty cool. So I'm excited. It's growing. Spotify, thank you. The podcast version keeps going. I have like 12,000. I'm almost to 12,000 downloads, which is fantastic for somebody that I want the quality to be so good that you tell people about it. And that's what we're going after. So that's what I'm after tonight. So remember, the prize inside a chiropractor's journey on Rumble, the prize inside a chiropractor's journey on YouTube. If you go there, click the subscribe button and maybe a little thumbs up, like, whatever. If you become a subscriber, it's free, right? But you can see all the old videos, right? So any video that you had questions on, a certain herb, certain condition, it's all there. So there you go. That was my podium tonight. So let's get rolling with kombucha. So, let me show you this first. So my podcast audience, you're going to not be able to see this, but I'm going to bring it on. This is what they call, let me see if my screen, I got to do it right. Because I have this like thing in the back. Okay, there we go. Right there. Okay, so that is on the very top of this sweet tea is what they call a SCOBY. Okay, so a SCOBY is a dense thing of bacteria that grows once you do the sweet tea with sugar and we used Earl Grey's black tea to make a sweet tea combination, and you just let that ferment. Now, if you saw on the top of my bottle, so my podcasters, there's a big white disc shaped thing on the top of my sweet tea. So just remember that. And if you touch it, I won't touch it tonight, but it's like a disc. It's not actually that gross. It's not like moldy. It's kind of weird, but so if you see the top is this burping lid, these are things that allow for fermentation. So we're going to walk through that. It's a little different on the top, but you can see how big my jar is, right? These are like the biggest ball jars out there. Oh my gosh. If you want to try some things, those ball jars are the best. That's what I do my sauerkraut in too. So these large ball jars, and then you get the little lid and then the little burping lid on the very top. You got yourself a process that you can go through to make your own fermentations, right? So So I just wanted to show you, we have named the SCOBY. My daughter, my oldest daughter, we thought it was going to be Scooby the SCOBY. Rachel came up with that one. But Allie for the win. This one's called SCOBY 1 Kenobi. SCOBY 1 Kenobi. And he'll live with us forever. Now we can just make kombucha all the time. We'll walk through how that works. Okay. So Kombucha 101, the 1% drink with 100% gut impact. So what we're going to go over tonight is this new thing that you can have, this healthy drink called kombucha. You don't have to drink it all the time, but once you start making it, you can keep reproducing it, which is amazing. The major health benefits of having a drink that you can count on for health versus what we were talking about, healthy drinks that are terrible for us, absolutely awful. So, and some at the very end, some recipes. Now, also on this sheet, it should be the health benefits of what kombucha does. So think of probiotics and microbiome. Okay. So when we're going through this, but there's some other stuff. So I want you to be aware of that. So there's more benefits than just the microbiome, which is enough. So what is kombucha? So kombucha is a fermented tea made by combining sweetened black tea or green tea with a SCOBY. So a SCOBY is what we're talking about. Mine is called SCOBY 1 Kenobi. SCOBY stands for a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. Over 1 to 2 weeks, the SCOBY consumes the sugar and transforms the tea into a tangy, effervescent drink rich in organic acids, probiotics, and trace nutrients. What starts as a sweet tea becomes a living fermented beverage with a flavor profile somewhere between apple cider vinegar and a sparkling cider. And that's true. Like you can drink, like what we're going to talk about is some recipes to give it different flavors, those kind of things. But you can drink once your SCOBY is formed, you can drink it right like that, like a sweet tea type stuff. But it has that, think of apple cider, like right when cider is hitting, like from a cider mill. That is always a good one. You can find these a lot in the store if you want to try them prior to Meyer. Let me bring that up first. So Meyer, and we have this amazing store in our area called Horrocks, but they have different ones. Now, I accidentally grabbed this one is what I'm finishing off tonight. It's good, but it has the zero sugar thing. I don't ever go for that stuff. So because usually that means zero sugar means they put some kind of fake stuff in there. So usually I grab the kombuchas that at Lexi just grabbed one from me. The no sugar or the just regular SCOBYs are great. She has a strawberry lemonade one that's fantastic. This one's a cherry lime kombucha. So a lot of times you can get them in the store pretty well done. A lot of them, if they're really good, they'll have certain packaging, actually. Glass with a cap like this that kind of helps with the fermentation aspects. But we'll go into that later. But yeah, so those are some things. You can get these in the store without making them and then try them. One of the things Rachel and I always find that's cool about kombucha is you need that drink. You're craving the pop, right? You're craving whatever drink. But you grab that kombucha and you only need like a little bit and it satiates. It's fascinating. It satiates me very quickly. Like where it's one of the only things, like I drink water like a water buffalo, right? But kombucha is one where I will enjoy it. I will drink a little bit, put it in the fridge, right? And then just do that back and forth. So a lot of times it'll satiate you pretty quickly. I don't know if that's a thing, but that's what we have noticed, like where that is. But so we're making a live tea. That's basically what we're doing. We're creating a probiotic rich tea that we can use for health and well-being as well. Okay, so let's talk the first one that we kind of know. If we're doing gut microbiome and creating probiotics, right? We want the gut health and microbiome. So kombucha is a natural source of probiotics, the beneficial bacteria that populate your gut microbiome. A healthy microbiome supports digestion, nutrient absorption, and even mood regulation through the gut brain axis, which we've talked about, right, many times. The fermentation process also produces organic acids like acetic acid and gluconic acid, which help to create an environment where beneficial bacteria thrive and harmful bacteria struggle to survive. So always remember, anytime we're building this microbiome in our body, we need things, right? So we need that fermented veggies. You need those type of, things in your life. And the kombucha, yes, the one thing it doesn't have is like in probiotics when it's fermented, it has probiotics, but it doesn't have the fermentation. So a lot of times, I'm sorry, it doesn't have the fiber. It needs to, go into that next level. However, if your gut microbiome is starting to do that, you're just keep replenishing that as you go. So that's what's neat about kombucha. It's creating that probiotic environment. Okay. So it also does not only the gut microbiome stuff, but it also does liver and gut support, right? Liver and detox, which let's be straight up. Rach and I were talking about this today. Look at your algorithms, guys. You're getting smacked in the face with like everything. Is there not a time where you're not advertised to and you're scrolling through socials? You're like, what's the news of the day? Next thing you know, you're like, is my liver falling out of my body? And you just wanted to know what the weather looked like. It's kind of fascinating, like how that works. But they know that that's a fear mechanism coming in. I'm going to give you something. Imagine that. You can have a drink that might support your liver support and give you some detox action, which is very cool because maybe you can make it yourself. So kombucha contains glyceric acid. It's a compound studied for its role in supporting the liver's natural detoxification pathways. So if you remember, if you ever heard me talk about the liver, there's like two phases. Keeping it simple, but there's two phases: a phase 1 of liver detox and a phase 2. And sometimes what occurs in the liver process is that it's the place where all the toxicities go. One reason why, because alcohol is so disruptive and so toxic to your body, it immediately goes to the liver, where the liver's trying to, detox all that scenario, right? So, but it uses two phases, right? So there's phase 1 liver detox and phase 2. And sometimes if the liver's not functioning right, then because maybe it like what we talk about all the time, the innate intelligence of the body hasn't gotten what it needs to because we're attacking it with toxins, bad thoughts or trauma, whatever, right? So we got the thoughts, toxins, trauma, some reason the liver's not functioning. So between the phase 1 and the phase 2, you can have, let's say you have this alcoholic molecule and it goes through phase 1, but it doesn't make it through phase 2 because there's something wrong with the liver, right? That becomes even more toxic. Why a lot of times people are having even more issues, like as they go, if the liver is not, getting it done. So having this glyceric acid, helping the liver do its detoxification is always a positive. Okay. All right. So the liver uses a process called glucuronidation. Suck it all saying all those things. Glucuronidation to neutralize toxins and prepare them for elimination. And glyceric acid may help support the process. Antioxidants form during fermentation, including this one called EGCG, which we've talked about before, from the tea itself. Because remember, green tea, black tea has some medicinal value just by itself. It's got a lot of phytogenic phytochemicals that are active for good herbal, remedies and such. So that helps the liver as well. So liver support and gut detox, liver support so far, and then the gut microbiome. So that's two reasons to try the kombucha, right? Okay. Here's another one. All right. Blood sugar and metabolic health. Some research Excuse me, I'm trying my cherry lime. That's good stuff. Some research suggests that kombucha may help moderate blood sugar response, particularly when consumed before meals. The acetic acid formed during fermentation, the same compound found in apple cider vinegar, right? So maybe kombucha has some of the benefits of apple cider vinegar that you've heard that is viral all over the place, has been linked to improved insulin sensitivity and slower carbohydrate absorption. This makes kombucha an interesting addition to a metabolic health focused routine, though it should never replace medical management of blood sugar conditions, obviously. We're just talking about things that could be a potential for you to switch. Because I can tell you right now, what I guarantee right now is that your blood sugar goes nuts with pop. Absolutely the other way. Like train wreck. Train wreck. That stuff is so laden with sugar and so much fake chemicals that by itself, if this could replace that bad habit or that bad toxin into your body, because some people are just like adamant about water, right? They just don't like it, whatever that is. I'm a water buffalo. It doesn't matter to me. Drink it out of the hose. I don't care. I love me some water, but pop can change the world, can go so negative. It's almost like, why are we doing that to ourselves? Okay. Kombucha has so much nice flavor. It has a little bit of, the tangy, carbonation. It has carbonation that the carbonation can help you stop that huge desire for pop, right? So that's the biggest thing is blood sugar. Oh, Brian said, yes, I agree. I know Bradford knows. He does some kombucha. I know that. We've talked about it. So here's some other benefits of things, right? So now we're on to what have we got so far? Great gut microbiome, great for the liver, great for, could be a possibility for blood sugar regulation. So now let's talk about immune function and antioxidants. The fermentation process, which we know, produces a range of antioxidants, organic acids, and B vitamins that support overall immune resilience. Green tea kombucha, which is one you can easily do, in particular, retains all the polyphenols like that EGCG, which is huge, and it's known for their antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. So if you make your kombucha out of green tea, I used black tea here because it was kind of my newer scenario, like this is my newer time to do it, right? So that's why I did it. I was like, all right, just black tea straight up. Let's see how this turns out. It's been fantastic, actually. A well-supported gut microbiome home to a significant portion of your body's immune system. So if I fix my gut microbiome, what happens? When 95% of your immune system resides in your gut microbiome, that's saying something. So now your immune system gets those antioxidants that we need, right? That is how, kombucha can support some immune health. And this is a big one. So we have to always remember in the gut-brain axis, when the gut microbiome, starts to play its role, the gut-brain connection. So the gut and the brain communicate constantly through the vagus nerve and a range of chemical messengers, tons of chemical messengers, okay? Many of which are influenced by the health of the gut microbiome. Because kombucha supports microbial diversity, it may indirectly support mood, stress resilience, and mental clarity. I've had patients that we have had this before, and it's worked. This part of fixing your gut microbiome might be the most astounding, to be honest with you. But I digress. The one of the things that when a patient asked me to do the gut detox and kind of stay with them as a coach through the process, I think the most interesting part to me as a person that's doing it is when I see them, and you can see and you can feel the energy of clarity. Clarity, a different it's like it changes their life through their brain. Like when we get a good gut microbiome starting to go in that right direction, it just changes. Like, wait, man, it's like, and I've seen it in real time when you see that energetically. You have this gut brain access, this gut brain connection. If my gut microbiome is going in the right direction and my spine is aligned properly, we have two of the major things, right, that we could do. You can see it's a different world in health and healing. And that I just want to make sure you guys are that, on this path. Kombucha is such an easy place. To be honest with you, man, the restaurant that does kombucha with like delicious steak or something, I don't know. I would if I was a restaurant, I might think about this. Okay. This is an emerging area of research. So it's kind of new in this area because of the gut brain connection. But I see it. I see it. We don't have to wait for that, right? I heard one of my favorite quotes this weekend. The this is gonna be mean, but it's funny. So it's worth it. That the mainstream media news is like that friend that you got to explain that they're just getting into the joke, so you got to re-explain it to them. That's kind of what our news has been. It's like they're so far behind everything else, and they're just so worried about the ad dollars from where the big pharma is and like whatever, right? So there's no like news there. You get it on your own, and then you're going, oh yeah, so about that, we know that like 3 weeks, that kind of thing. So I thought that was one of my favorite lines that I've heard this weekend. So they're like the friend that you have to keep up. They have to catch up with you. Thank you, comedian Tim Dillon. That's where I got that one up. Okay, so this is a word of balance so that we understand we're not going to fix everything, right? Kombucha is not a cure-all, right? And store-bought versions can be high in added sugar, so you got to watch that, or only contain trace amounts of live cultures by the time they reach the shelf. The real benefits come from consistent, moderate consumption of a well-brewed, properly fermented batch, which is exactly why brewing your own at home simply puts you in the driver's seat, right? So we want to make sure there's going to be some delicious ones out there. They put a lot of fake, they can put a lot of fake sugar in. So you're going to want to make sure, labeling. I wish I could trust it all, but it's going to be a feel. Like some of these ones at the store are going to be legit, right? But just remember, don't just rely on the ones you buy at the store. Okay. Get into making them for yourself. The biggest thing is like in any of this stuff, it's so fun to create your own anyway. Why not do it? Right. Okay. So let's talk about how to make kombucha at home. All right. So here we go. So to brew kombucha at home, you need 5 basic things. And we're going to talk about how I built the SCOBY too. So there's ways you can buy a SCOBY. Okay. You just look up SCOBY online. They'll send you in this gross package and you can skip that part. Or let me start with that. So with a SCOBY, you can do basically all you're going to do is the same process. So we're going to take green tea, black tea, sugar, and you're going to cook it basically. And then this one, you're going to use a fermentation lid and you're going to leave it for a month. Okay. You're going to leave it for longer than that. And eventually this haze of mold will start sitting on the top of that. And then once it does, it builds up over time, right? You just leave it in a place where it can't get too hot, can't get too cold, like right in that perfect temperature. You just kind of leave it there. And then as it's going, it'll start building and building. And then you'll know based on like what it looks like. So SCOBY 1 Kenobi, he looks a lot better. I just had to replace the stuff. He was floating right at the top. It doesn't matter if it's floating totally at the top on this one, but it's very hard. It's not floating and slimy. It's not as slimy as you'd think. But so what happens is like then you can take your own SCOBY mix and then you pour some out into a different container. That's why I got this one here. So right now, Rachel and I have just a regular mason jar, but we poured part of the kombucha that we've created with this SCOBY into another container. And that's where you'll get these recipes from, because then you can start them and then kind of replenish this guy, as we go. So just remember that there's an easy way to build your own SCOBY. I would recommend that. To be honest with you, it kind of gets you in the habit of doing stuff. People buy it all the time. What's delayed me before is I thought I had to buy it or buy it from someone. That's not true. Once I learned that it's very easy to do, it wasn't too terrible at all. So just remember that building your own SCOBY is good. Now you can have some of mine. That's part of it, the fun of it too. So like if you're a patient of mine or something, maybe one day I'll get you the SCOBY and then you can kickstart it that way as well. Because it'll keep growing in layers, and then you just hand it out to your buddies and friends. SCOBY one will have children. Okay, so what you need, 5 basic things: a SCOBY, sweetened black tea or green tea, a large glass jar. I suggest these ball mason jars that are like a gallon. A tight weave cloth to cover with a rubber band. That's what they use, but I use these little burping lids. Okay, so that's a fermentation lid. It works really good. There's lots of different options. This one's cheap and amazing. And time. There's no actual special equipment, no expensive machines, just a living culture and patience. So the basic process is this: you brew a batch of strong black tea or green tea. So you put a ton. So like you do like a gallon, but you put like eight bags of green or black tea in there. Okay, so you put it in there, but we'll talk about that. So what you do first is well, let's do this. So you dissolve the cane sugar in while it's hot. So what I do is I'll boil the water. Okay, so I'll boil the water and get the sugar going. So like you boil the water first, you get the sugar dissolved. So you need this cane sugar. You're going to dissolve that as however much. You got to just look up the recipe on that. So however much you put the cane sugar in, and then you put the green or black tea bags into it and let it kind of steep until it gets to room temperature. Okay, so that's the key, getting it down to room temperature after that. So you pour the sweet tea into your glass jar. And then if you have a SCOBY, this is where you add it along with some starter liquid from a previous batch. If you have that, this is my batch now. And you cover it with a cloth by a rubber band. And you never seal the lid, right? Because these things are explosive fermentation. You don't tighten it down, right? The only reason you get to tighten it into the fridge is when you want to stop fermentation. So I'm glad I'm doing it, because then you guys will have these same questions anyway. So once you've done the kombucha off to here, you're going to end up wanting to take some off. Let's say I'm making this cherry lime. So you put a cherry in there and some lime, and then you let it kind of ferment for another week, right? So you'd have a normal, like a lid like this. But then when you're ready to be done, the fermentation to be done, you take this lid off. Okay. So you take this lid off, put a regular metal lid on it, and then you can put it in the refrigerator. Now, when you do that, it's got to be a strong enough bottle, because there's going to be a little fermentation, but a lot of times that's going to stop the fermentation where you want to taste it at. Okay. And that's the trick of the whole thing. You want to constantly be testing it. Okay. So this is going to take a few days, but you want to get it to a good taste. I let mine go a little too long. My starter, it has a slight vinegary taste, but I know I could have stopped it like 4 days earlier. And if we would have stopped it then it would have been almost perfect. It tastes like apple cider vinegar, and it's black tea, which is crazy. Okay, so remember, never seal the lid. We don't want to blow up things, right? So as its fermentation happens, and so you just let it sit undisturbed in a warm, dark spot for 7 to 14 days. Okay, don't forget about it. 14 days or longer, it starts getting into that vinegary, kind of situation. That's why people struggle with this, because they forget. And then it's gross, and then they don't want to do it anymore. Okay. But like they say, taste it periodically, and then it'll reach its balance of tart and sweet that you will like. Okay. So now we're going to talk about, so now we've created, let's say you go get the SCOBY or you create your own, you have this guy. Okay. Now what if you wanted to do a different flavor of this, right? So this is going to be constant. You can get this right now. I keep showing you. Thank God I have a burping lid because I'm shaking it all over the place. But once I replenished it, so in a few days, I'm going to test it again to see what the taste is. But each time, how do I get a different flavor, right? So this is what's cool. So then you take this liquid out. We take some of it. Let's say I went down. So I took out of my big gallon for my podcasters. So out of my big gallon, I took, let's say, half down. Like, let's say 5 cups, like fill a mason jar full, just a normal basic mason jar. Took that out, and then I'm able to flavor it. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about next. So the next one is so right now, Rachel and I are doing an apple and cinnamon stick. So we take a little piece of apple that fits in the jar and and a cinnamon stick, and we're putting it in there. And then we're going to take that other mason jar, put this type of lid on, right? This one with the burp, right? The fermentation lid. You put that one on, and then you let that ferment for 7 to 14 days. Okay. I think they said 5 days on this one, until you get the right flavor. If you get this nice apple cinnamon flavor, now, once you're done with that portion, let's say you said, oh my God, that's so perfect. Now, if you don't drink it all, you go get a lid, the metal lid in the mason jar, and then you close it off. You're stopping the fermentation, and then it goes in the fridge. Okay. All of those things happen. That's the process. But then what's happening, once you get it in the fridge, it'll stay there at the level that you like the taste. Hopefully I'm explaining that okay, because this stuff is really fun, and it produces, it's so cheap to fix your microbiome sometimes. So, okay. So here's the bottling and the second fermentation. One reason I brought this with me, though, is this is a perfect, these bottles you can reuse. They're a perfect second fermentation bottle, right? So if you can see, it's not very big, but I could put you could put different kinds, right? If you got a bunch of these kombucha bottles, and we have 4 right now because we were trying different ones we liked. So now you just wash them out, and then you pour your liquid in, and then you put your fruit in there, and then see how it goes. And then if you like the fermentation, boom, there you go. You got a little drink, right? So here's how it goes. So bottling in the second fermentation. So once you first ferment, once your first ferment tastes where you want it to be, like we talked about, you remove the SCOBY, okay, and set aside for about 10% of the liquid for the starter. So you can, to start over the SCOBY again, you want to keep some of the liquid. So you're not going to use that whole jar for the next run of kombucha. Pour the remaining kombucha into a flip top bottle if you would like, and then you add fruit juice and herbs and seal tightly. Let the bottle sit at room temperature for 2 to 4 more days to build the natural carbonate. Oh, yeah. So this is where I'm doing it a little different. So there's these flip top bottles that you can get. I really want to get those too. But what we're doing is I want it to ferment and get the taste of the apple cinnamon for a little bit longer. I want to see how that goes. So I'm experimenting with that. They're saying in the second fermentation, you just go get it and seal it, and then leave it at room temperature for a little bit, and it'll bring that beautiful carbonation up, right? So it'll bring that carbonation up for 2 to 4 more days. Once that happens, there's another place. Don't forget, because that'll blow up. And then you can try it and see how it does. If it's the right carbonation, then it goes in the refrigerator. Okay. Let the bottle sit at room temperature for 2 to 4 more days to build the natural carbonation, and then refrigerate to slow the fermentation before the actual drinking. Okay. So that is where we're at. So hopefully that makes sense. It's kind of new for me as well. I'm learning as I go too. So just remember that as it's going to be these cool journeys. We'll see. Just hopefully no one will have explosive things. Okay. Common mistakes to avoid. The most common homebrewing mistakes are usually a metal container or utensils, which can react with an acidic liquid. Sealing the first ferment in a airtight container, which is a really bad idea, which starves the culture of oxygen, and then that's where you get the explosion. Skipping the taste test step. That's a huge one. You want to make sure you're testing it all the time, which leads to batches that are either too sweet or too vinegary. A healthy SCOBY should smell tangy and slightly sweet, never rotten. Trust your senses. Okay. So that is the biggest thing. You will like trying it. I gave it to my kids. They really, really liked it. This is my first run. So who knows? My SCOBY, I hope SCOBY 1 Kenobi can pull it off. But I think this is going to be really good. Okay. So now let's talk about some different recipes that are out there. Once you want to get to your second ferment, I would suggest this is where you would do the recipe stuff. There's the classic ginger kombucha. So when you second ferment your kombucha with 1 tablespoon of freshly grated ginger per bottle, the natural sugars and enzymes in the ginger accelerate the carbonation and add a warming, spicy bite that pairs perfectly with kombucha's natural tartness. Strain before drinking if you prefer a smoother texture. So that's pretty cool. So just 1 tablespoon of freshly grated ginger per bottle. All right. So here's the next one that I wanted to try, but I went with this a different one just because of the health benefits. But we will be trying this blueberry lavender kombucha. So add a small handful of muddled blueberries and a pinch of dried culinary lavender to each one of the bottles before sealing it for the second ferment. The blueberries lend natural sweetness and antioxidants, while the lavender adds a subtle floral calm, a wonderful evening version of the drink. So blueberry and lavender would be perfect in there as well. And then sometimes, like but by doing the second ferment, you're gonna get that nice, what do they call it? You'll get some bubbles. You get the carbonation going pretty good, but you'll also get those nice flavors too. Okay, so here's a good one. Here's another one: citrus turmeric kombucha. Combine the juice of a half of an orange, a thin slice of turmeric root, and a small pinch of black pepper in each bottle before the second ferment. The black pepper enhances turmeric's curcumin, absorption, making this a functional anti-inflammatory forward flavor, as well as a bright citrusy one. So that's a pretty good one. So a half an orange, slim slice of fresh turmeric root, and a small pinch of black pepper for each of the ferments as well. Okay, this is the one Rachel and I are trying. So this one's called the apple cinnamon kombucha. This one is, and this is all with the second ferment, right? So that's what's currently sitting as of yesterday. Add a few thin apple slices and a cinnamon stick to each bottle before sealing for the second ferment. This combination creates a cozy, fall-inspired flavor, while the cinnamon offers its own blood sugar supportive properties, echoing the metabolic benefits already built in kombucha itself. So remember, cinnamon's a nice, very studied thing for blood sugar regulation. It's good for all the different blood sugar aspects. So cinnamon is a nice one to add too. So we were trying this cinnamon apple one. I was trying it right before I got on here. I think it's going to be pretty good. Once I get that carbonation in there, it should be fantastic. Okay. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And then, you know where all these recipes are going to be? The recipes are going to be at tribe1.substack.com. So remember to put in tribe1.substack.com, and I'll put it in let me put it in the links so you guys have that. Hang on. Of course. I thought I was segueing so nice. Okay. So let's get over here. I'll drop it in the link below. I want to make sure you guys get the recipes because this should, you know how it's so impressive how God just throws stuff at you. I'm like, man, I wonder what would be a fun one to talk about tonight. And this to me, I mean, you got the herb stuff all the time, which is great. And each one is super beneficial, but why not throw one in, one that we could actually do something with, right? So with that said, join so I can get you the recipes if you're having trouble, or the whole breakdown will be in the newsletter that we currently have so you don't miss a step. Okay. So join tribe1.substack.com, like we said, source a SCOBY or do it yourself. My newsletter will have how to do a SCOBY by itself. It's pretty easy, I would say. Now, with my 1% Tribers, once SCOBY 1 Kenobi gets bigger, I'd like to share them with a friend, a local brewer. So one of the fun parts of this is that you can share your SCOBY with others. And so that would be really fun. So reach out at the office or email me, like if you get on tribe1.substack.com, we can talk. I'll send you my SCOBY. It'll be like the original. It's kind of cool. And brew your first batch. You don't need to get it perfect. You just need to start, taste, adjust, and let your innate tuition guide the process one batch at a time. I'm in love with this stuff. It has changed what I grab for Friday night. I'd love having like a kombucha sitting at a campfire. It used to be beer, those kind of things. It changes your perspective that way. So remember, those are the kind of things we can do. All right. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed the kombucha tonight. I'm pretty pumped. Pretty pumped on how, look at all the benefits. Just don't think of the gut microbiome stuff, right? Liver, immune system, brain interactions, right? How many drinks can you say in your life? Think about all the drinks you're having in a day. How many of them are negative? Like saying, give you negative energy, give you negative health circumstance, right? How many give you positive? If you're a water drinker all day, yeah, you definitely have some positives. Coffee to a point, right? So there's a benefit to some black coffee, right? But what about the fake sugars? What about all that stuff, right? What if I could find a way, instead of saying stop doing it, what if we just replace it with something that actually would benefit the body? The health of the body is what we're going for. What if we just started doing this? And this one, we can do this all the time, right? We can have kombucha bars, going try different people's recipes. It'll be fantastic. So with that said, you guys enjoy your week. Don't forget Whole Health Weekly on Wednesday night at 8:30. I don't have any interviews coming up this week, but after that, I got another one coming. I got a couple that you guys will pretty like quite a bit, but for now, we're just going to do our normal Whole Health Weekly. And with that, enjoy the night. Start looking up some kombucha recipes that you might want to try. Get your flavor going. And I want to try it if you do. All right. Have a good night. Take it easy.